Hey everybody, so a friend of mine and I introduced ourselves to a new game called Dropzone Commander. It's by Hawk War Games, and we picked up one of the two-player starters, and we've actually played a couple of games with it already, and we're happy enough with the gameplay that I decided to add another two-player starter to our armies. The two-player starter for this particular game comes with two armies. Comes with Scourge and UCM, and I'll show some of them here in a bit. This starter is really an awesome way to get into the game. It has absolutely everything you need to get started playing. Some of the contents from the other box I've already got set up here, but let me show you what you'll be looking for when you actually bust this box open. The artwork on the front is very nice. It's very well done, very detailed. It kind of shows you what you're supposed to get a sense of when you play this game. Just all these drop ships flying in, dropping off units on the ground, a bunch of tanks down here fighting it out, and a bunch of aircrafts and stuff shooting at each other. So it's pretty cool. Inside the box, you'll notice everything's really nicely organized, bubble wrap and everything. So these kits that come in the starter are plastic. When you buy the miniatures separate from the starter, they're actually resin. I've ordered both. The plastic, really high quality. The resin is even better for how small a scale it is. This is a 10mm game. So these are actually your infantry bases there. These are cockpits, flying stands, and flying bases for your aircrafts. And then on this side we have the Scourge. One of them out for you to look at there. So the Scourge are kind of an alien race. They're not totally machine, but they're not totally organic either. They're kind of a hybrid of the two. And then the UCM. And the UCM are kind of your obligatory human race. Heavily armored tanks, pretty decent shooting. Not a lot of mobility though. So those are your plastic kits. In the plastic kits for the UCM, you'll get 3 of these bear transports. You'll get 3 of their anti-infantry tanks, 3 anti-air tanks, and 3 transports or drop ships. You'll also get 6 bases of the normal infantry, and the Scourge actually contains the same. So you get 3 transports, 3 drop ships, 3 anti-air tanks, 3 anti-infantry tanks, and 6 warrior bases for your regular infantry. So when I said you have everything to play the game, you really do. So it comes with a small tape measure and 10 dice. 10 dice, that's about all you'll need for the game. I haven't run into a situation where I've rolled more than 4 to 6 at a time, and that was really in a last-ditch effort to take down one of the flyers. Normally you'll probably be rolling between 1 and 2 dice at a time. The tape measure is really handy. They give you a small, flexible tape measure, and when you're measuring distances, it's nice because you can wrap it around the buildings and land on the other side when you're measuring your moves out. We have the rule book. It's nice and packaged, and it has a picture of the terrain board and the buildings that come in the box set. And these are the buildings here. They're cardboard buildings, and you've got to kind of put them together yourself. They're not too bad. They usually recommend, I think, stapling them together, but we found that they don't have very much weight to them, and the models that actually get on top of buildings during the game, they don't have weight to them at all, so the buildings didn't need taped or stapled at all. That way you can just fold them out and keep storing them in the box. Pretty good detail for being cardboard. There's nine buildings in this kit, in the starter. And like I said, I've already opened up one of the other. I've already got the other one cracked open because we were playing the game. The only other thing that's in here, it's actually underneath the rule book there, are two of these paper mats. They're folded up in there. On the other side, there's some really cool artwork. It's actually the same artwork, a poster of the artwork that's on the front of the box. And then these are some of the buildings as they're set up. So like I said, I haven't taped them together or anything, but I'll show you here in a second. They really don't need it at all. So the Scourge are what I decided to play. A friend of mine decided he wanted to do UCM, and I liked the Scourge, so it kind of worked out in the end, which was really nice. So in that kit, I said you get the three transports, and these are almost done being painted for the most part. And you get 6 anti-infantry tanks, and this kind of gives you a scale idea of what size you're looking at. So pretty small, but actually really fun to paint. You get 3 of the anti-air. You only use 2 transports in the game, but you actually get 3 the way the kits are. The nice thing about that is if you have a color scheme in mind, you can practice on the spare transport that you have and not worry about ruining one of the models, just trying to figure out which color scheme you're going to go with. And then you've got your 6 infantry bases. Right there. So that would be that's the Scourge army that's included in that box. If I can get on there and show you. So they're really small. They're not too hard to paint. They're fairly detailed for how small they are. The tanks are really well detailed for how small they are. And the transports are as well. Let's see if I can get more light in there. So these are the anti-air. Anti-air in this game are very important. Regular infantry tanks like this cannot fire at airborne units. So your anti-air, if it gets taken out and you don't have any way to get rid of transports, the enemy can really get around the battlefield as easily as they like. And that's not good in most cases. So the other thing I liked about the Scourge, and the UCM's the same way, all of these tanks actually fit inside of their drop ships. Like so. So when you actually deploy them on the field, they're all inside their transports. Like that. And then obviously as you deploy them, they come out and they enter the battlefield. Same with the transports. Even these are geared to fit inside of their drop ship. So everything fits in there. The UCM, there's kind of attached to the underside of the ships. And then as you deploy them, you just take them off. And that's pretty cool. The next steps after you buy the starter, if you're going to buy one starter and you have a friend that wants to play with you, I highly suggest getting the second starter. So just plan to buy 2, because you can make pretty decent armies with the 2. Aside from the 2 armies that come in the starter, those models, the one thing you'll want to add straight away is a commander. This is a command craft for the Scourge, and this is specifically geared towards the commander. The underside there. When you add a commander to the game, it adds another dimension. So the basic gameplay, and this is one of the things that I love about it, I love about the game, is random initiative. So at the beginning of each turn, you're actually going to be rolling a dice, and whoever wins that dice roll gets to take the turn, gets to take first turn on that particular game turn. So you have to take into account that you may or may not get to go first after the current game turn is over. Strategically, that changes the game a lot. You do alternating activations throughout the game. So I activate one unit, and then my opponent gets to activate a unit, then I activate, and then they activate, and so on and so forth. So the game is always changing, and the strategies are always changing through the game. What we found is the most common thing in this is that the first, turn or two, everybody's kind of getting set up. You're trying to see what the other person's doing. They're getting a feel for what you're doing and reacting. By turn 3, 4, and 5, and then even 6, it starts to get really strategic. So you've really got to plan where you're going to be moving your units around and by that point you're trying to find objectives, and there's typically maybe some other combats and inside buildings going on that are really cool. The commander adds another dimension as well, because you get what's called a command deck. It's a 40 card deck. They're sold separately, either local gaming stores or through their website. But the 40 card deck allows you to draw cards into your hand up to your commander's command value and use those cards during the game. So some of them might give you a strategic advantage, like I can play a card onto my anti-air, which allows them to re-roll misses, or gives them another, makes them harder to hit in the shooting phase. So it's all integrated into this really seamless game that is really, really, really fun. The rules are pretty easy to get a hold of, or the hang of. They're kind of hard to understand at first. There's some acronyms that are difficult to catch on to, but aside from that, it's not too difficult. I'll go ahead and show you. So the rule book, it's a pretty dense rule book as far as the binding goes. I would probably suggest, I went to our local Office Max, and I had them for like $3. They'll put spiral binding on it for you. It's definitely worth the money for that. So the rule book, basically goes over all the general rules, the stats, how things move, how close things should be together. It goes over the battlefield, how to interact with buildings. Buildings in this game are really cool. Buildings can either be destroyed, you can occupy them with... The only units in the game that occupy buildings are infantry. So this is where I was saying that they don't have a lot of weight to them, so not attaching those roofs really didn't matter. But infantry in the game are the only ones that occupy buildings, and they're the only ones that can score objectives. So find and actually transfer the objective from the building outside. So their role is really pivotal as well. Buildings have two different ways you can be in them. So a unit can just occupy a building, or you can actually bring them to the wall, and then they can shoot out. If they're inside the building, they can't be shot at, unless by a special rule from some other unit. If they're on the wall, they can be shot at, but it allows them to shoot out as well. So that's kind of the advantage there. The disadvantage to being in a building is if a unit shoots at the building and damages it, there's the potential that the unit inside might get hit by falling debris or a residual explosion. So it's not always the safest place to be either inside there. So after it goes over the buildings, it goes over special weapons, rules for transports, the scenarios, and then it goes into each individual army. So this is the other part that I love about this game. Each army has its own background story. Kind of goes over the units, it goes over the special features of the tanks, the different weapons of the tanks, and then it has each unit. So these are like your drop ships, these are the aircrafts. You've got your tanks and stuff like that. This has their point values, their weapons, their stats, special rules, everything on this page. On these pages. And then at the back, it's got a sample of some of the armies that you can build with this. So this is the army that comes with the starter. These two, I believe, are sold on their websites. This one's a little bit hard to find. This one is pretty easy to find. It's the Mega Force. But if you're going to play UCM or Scourge, like I said, two of the starters, great starting place for the army. So the thing I love about this is, I probably can't get a good picture, but is the force organization charts here. So this is a standard army roster. You've got 3 different sizes of armies, or game sizes. You have skirmish, which is small, clash, medium-sized, and a battle, which is a very large one. Inside these, you have different battle groups. You have an HQ, you have armor, infantry, special, and fleet. So under the command, we'll just use a clash for instance. So a clash, you have to have an HQ. So you choose this box. And then inside that, you have to have a commander. And then you have 0 to 1 scouts, 0 exotic, clash. One commander, 0 to 2 scout, 0 to 1 exotic, and 0 to 1 support. So you can have any of those, but you can only have a maximum of 3. So that allows you to pick any of those up to 3. Then you have to have 1 armor, you have to have an infantry. So you would pick the infantry, and you would pick the armor, and you'd fulfill your prerequisites there, and then you would move on through the organization chart. The good thing is no one chart can be any more than 1/3 of your points. So if you're playing 1,500 points, it obviously no box can equal more than 500 points. As long as you fulfill that, then you're good to go. So it goes over some paint schemes after that, and then it goes into the Scourge. Schemes. This is the PHR, the Post-Human Republic. They're probably my second favorite just because I like the walkers. And then the Shaltari. And the Shaltari are really interesting army. They actually use teleportation gates. So if you've got a gate on one side of the battlefield and a gate over here, you can have a unit dematerialize into this gate and materialize into the gate over here. They count as exiting from a transport and stuff, but it allows them to really kind of push the boundaries of the battlefield, not be as restricted as other armies. And then it's got, these are some of the cutout templates. This is a firing arc marker. You've got some damage counters, objective counters. So that's the rule book. The other thing that comes in there is you actually get punch cards too that you can use for. This is front, side, and rear, and this is a narrow deployment. And everything in the game is measured from the center of a vehicle. So you would just put it in the center, and that'll give you an idea of where you're at. There are blasts in the game, so some weapons are blast, can cover multiple units. If a flyer crashes, it can also explode, and it gets a counter like that. It comes with objective tokens, intel tokens for one of the objectives or one of the missions, focal points, more objective markers. Also comes with a cheat sheet for each army. This is the UCM. It comes with the units that are included in the starter. It's got a cheat sheet on the back. Tells you how to search for objectives inside buildings depending on their size. It's got structure stats, so it tells you how many damage points those buildings have. This is your damage chart, so weapon energy compared to the target's armor, destroyed vehicle charts, stuff like that. You also get one for the Scourge. And then you get a special mission that comes just in the starter box, which is what we've been playing. And to be honest with you, just the one starter with this mission, we've played twice and has been played 2 different ways. Even though the armies were the same, the strategies were a little bit different each time. So we learned from the first time, got some of the rules right, and went from there. So highly recommend the game. It's very fun. I told myself I wasn't going to spend a lot of time painting because I'm playing Warhammer, so I went with a really simple paint scheme. But you can get as intricate with it as you want, like any other hobby. The detail's really nice in the miniatures. The gameplay is really fun. Doesn't take a whole lot of time once you get the rules down. It could take anywhere from about an hour to 2 hours to 3 hours, depending on the size of the game. So hope you enjoy. Go ahead and pick it up. Dropzone Commander, Hawk War Games. You can go on their website and join the forums. A lot of good information on there. Look at the models and stuff like that. If you have any questions for me or want me to go over something else, just feel free to comment down below. Otherwise, enjoy your game.